All right, let's go on the trail. You guys can speak.
No.
What's for supper?
I want to eat a snack.
I'm hungry.
Okay, I'll start rolling.
Where's this shortcut?
I want a shortcut. My feet are aching so
Girl,
bad,
so
and there's
slow.
not a bench.
Why is the sand
There's so hot. There's not a bench inside. Oh, why?
It's not that bad.
But I'm hungry.
Eat the sand.
I can't move.
You eat the sand.
Well, I'm not hungry.
I want to go to bed.
Why do we have so many kids?
So, technology, even though we lived overseas for a long time, we were kind of used to using technology to communicate, not just email, but we regularly would Skype back home with family and churches and things like that. So it was already a part of it. I mean, most people would assume that we probably didn't use hardly any technology, but we probably used quite a bit more than people thought when we were overseas. So lots of different ways. I mean, obviously work, but we use it socially quite a bit too.
For school, especially because we homeschool, so some of their classes are online. And some of their classes that are not online, they still have online group Google Classroom and other things like that they use with their classes. So
even before COVID, and those kind of stuff. So, I know when we came back, one thing we were really aware when we came back stateside, because just how being away, it wasn't so much technology when we left, but each time we would come back, we would notice just how big and how much more attached people were to their screens. And so that was something we wanted to be proactive about at times. I mean, it's not like we have it all together. We still struggle with too much screen time as a family. But we were very specific about when our kids would be able to have their own cell phones. That cell phones aren't just a toy. There's a purpose behind it. And just that kind of timing. But it's not like we didn't have technology. They've had Kindles and those kind of things so that they're aware of what's going on.
For determining when they get a cell phone, it's more dependent upon if they're going to be out and away from us and not have any ability to contact us. Then it's kind of an age where we've talked about they should have a cell phone. Now, for a long time, the middle three kids shared a cell phone. So they didn't each just have one. They had one that they shared, and if one of them was going out to play with friends, they would take the phone with them. Now that Caden's driving, he has his own phone. That way he can contact us, or he'll be driving soon. And so the girls, Ellie and Sage, share a phone right now. Once they start either getting a job or driving, then we will reevaluate that. Olivia, we have not felt the need for her to have one yet. So she's 12, and a lot of kids her age do, but she doesn't need one, so there's no reason to get one for her.
Yeah, especially when it comes to cell phones, for us, it's a tool. It's something that we use. It's useful. We don't want you to be ignorant about it, but understand why we have it, what we use it for, and it's not just a distraction. And one of the hard things is, we're not just going to do something because everybody else just does it. We want to be purposeful in how we go about different things, and how we handle getting on technology and what it's for. And so we just kind of when it's time, when it's a need, then we'll step into that. There are times I'm like, yeah, there are some families that it's okay for the kids to have a cell phone because they need to be able to call mom and dad, and for just how our family operates and interacts, and we do a lot together. It's like, okay, y'all don't need a phone. We're here. We're with you. And so we recognize that what we do isn't necessarily what every family needs to do, but for us, you know, being intentional where, you know, where it's purposeful is the most important thing.
So like for our family, we didn't have like a ton of social media like other kids did. We only just got Instagram not that long ago because Sage made like a PowerPoint presentation on my birthday, so I probably get a yes. Can't turn it in.
It was a pretty good PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
So we had let them get Facebook when they turned 13 because that's the age limit for Facebook anyway. So we let them get accounts when they were 13 because a lot of our family was on Facebook. And but they just now have Instagram, have had it for a few months now. But other than that, yes, but Pinterest isn't really like it.
Yeah, you don't use
That
Pinterest
kind
as
of-
like really social. You just
So,
get ideas.
but other than that, they're not on a lot of the other stuff that kids their age are on.
Yeah, there's like a Jeopardy for like social media platforms.
Not your strong suit.
I mean, we just recognize, you know, the pressure, the added pressure that social media puts on for kids and, I mean, really adults too. And having to look like you have everything together, it's just not, you know, at that age, they don't need added pressure for, you know, how they feel about themselves and, you know, their own image. And so it's just trying to be wise about, you know, when they're mature enough to be able to understand the different things, but also being safe about, you know, the use of social media. We try to be aware of the different social media apps that, you know, are flagged, you know, that are more dangerous than others.
I'm that one friend who has it but never posts anything just to see what everybody else is posting.
There's a lot of benefits to not being on all the time because then you're not so distracted or immersed in it. If you're on all the time, then that's really probably all you care about or you're thinking about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's worse too because you can like, so when I was growing up and I didn't get invited to things, I didn't know, you know, like it was like a week later it'd be like, oh, it was your birthday? You know, like you just don't really think, and now you watch it in real time and it just does not feel good when you see stuff like that. And I think that can make you feel even more isolated than what you really are. You know, like even if you didn't have social media, you might not even want to be there, but because you see it, it makes it feel a little bit different.
Yeah, so we use a program called Covenant Eyes. We use it on all our electronic devices, and it's not just for the kids. It's for we've talked to them about it. It's not just about controlling them. It's boundaries and parameters for all of us. And so, like, I have it on my computer and my phone, and the report goes to Stephanie, and you know, and all those kind of things. Just because we want, you know, what's happening in our home, and even somebody else who comes in. We just want it to be honoring to what God says, and we don't want to, you know, it just kind of takes away some of the temptation because you just, it's there, and it just helps to stay within those kind of boundaries of what, you know, what would be honoring to not just God, but even honoring to other people, you know. And so.
Something else we do is we have the kids put their phones in our room at night and/or computers as well, just so that temptation isn't there in the middle of the night. You know, if you're not able to sleep or whatever, you're not just gonna get on your phone and not go to sleep.
So, I mean, so having those safeguards as far as technology, but we even, from time to time, like we'll do like a technology fast for a time where it's like, okay, we can recognize, especially Steph and I, where, okay, we've kind of got overload and we're stuck in a rut. And so we'll be like, okay, and there's been a couple times we've done a month or, you know, a week or so. It's like, all right, we have to interact with one another. You know, we can't just hide in our rooms and be on your screens. And so it's just take a break. And so we end up having a lot more, you know, family game time or just not on the screens. It's just a healthy step.
what initially got us thinking about how our family would be allowed to use technology is when we came home on one furlough, and we noticed that when we would go to churches, we would see the teenagers walking around and they were only looking at their phones. They weren't even talking to anyone else at church. And we visited a lot of churches, and it was really disheartening to see the lack of connection, even in those types of settings where it's a typically safe environment where, I mean, for us growing up, when you go to church, you talk to everyone. And you talk to people older than you and younger than you, and you glean a lot from that. And so that initially really kind of woke us up to what was happening here in the States while we were in Africa, just the big change in the time frame that we were gone. And so I think that's probably what spurred on the most our desire to not be that way.
Yeah, and and two, just I think most people would be surprised that, like for us, I think most people would assume that we would feel safer in America than we would in Ivory Coast, like in Africa. But the opposite is true. Like when we come home to America, the reality of like predators and and the ghosting and all these different things that happen online. I mean, by far, we feel more on edge about our kids and feel like we need to be more aware about our kids here compared to how they grew up, in Ivory Coast. And I mean, that's just for us, and that kind of put us on that awareness of the difference. And I think it's easy just for parents to not be aware of it or realize it because they've been here. For us to have seen the difference and how it's gotten worse and worse through the years. For us, it's not being alarming, but it's at the same time just going, hey, we need to be the adults, and we need to be the ones that help them understand why we limit certain things, why we don't you can't just go on whatever social media, you can't just, be on all night, all hours of the night, because it's just it's not good for you, but it's just a safeguard, trying to get you on a healthy path, setting you for good healthy habits for the rest of your life.
And I think that's what's so great about how you guys approach this aspect of your life, because it's not like they're completely shut off from it, to where when they have access to it, right, it just goes like the pendulum swings all the way to the other side. But you also take the time to actually share why that's important. And I think that that's a hard step for parents to take. Like, I know growing up, because they said so. It takes more effort and intentionality, right, to take that conversation a step further and explain that. And I think that that's really cool.
We'll be sitting over there going, I'm never going to get a phone.
You will, just like 15 years.